Russia would like nothing more than another Minsk stoppage of the war. That happened in 2014, and then we know what happened years later in 2022. And that was an arrangement to, okay, let's stop fighting. Let's talk about what we're going to do about this territory we've seized from you. And of course, it dragged on and on. It also did, however, allow Ukraine to build an army because it had virtually no army in 2014. And so, it's a different situation now. But to allow a piecemeal ceasefires, I think, is the thin edge of the wedge. It's distracting, and it's something that Russia would like to do. Now, the other thing that, of course, has changed since in recent months is the seizure of Kursk, and that to me is a bargaining chip in any negotiations. But Putin won't countenance that at this point anyway, publicly.
You've written in recent days on the current equivocation about granting Ukraine permission to fire its Western-supplied Storm Shadow missiles deep into Russia. What effect do you think this very public debate and delay is having on Ukraine's allies and on Russia?
Well, I think that I don't know if it's going to affect Russia until the bombs start to fly, but it's a very important debate. This is really kind of a reason behind the tedious stalemate war that's underway now. The more that they can harm the energy infrastructure and the military infrastructure deep inside Russia, the better off they're going to be in terms of defending themselves and even inching forward to regain some of the property, some of the lands they've lost. So it's a key strategy. But the Americans are very concerned that, and Putin has warned that this he would regard this as an attack by NATO, and then therefore the war would escalate into a NATO versus Russia war, which is something that nobody really wants. On the other hand, what the British Prime Minister has been arguing, and he's done a bit of a crusade, he's hopping from capital to capital to talk to leaders, Starmer, and he has done a good job of raising the fact that, they have been bombing inside Russia. They've taken a piece of Russia for ages. Crimea is under siege, and there's been no major, pushback in terms of a nuke or anything like that. So it's not that it's empty threats. It's still a threat. It's still concerning, but it's they haven't done much about it, and the Ukrainians have progressed.
And it's now thought that any decision regarding the permissions will be delayed until the UN General Assembly in New York next week, when President Zelensky will also present his victory plan. He says this week it's 90% done. We know really very little about what's going to be in it, don't we?
Very little, very little. I think his victory plan starts with another peace summit, hopefully in India, which hasn't agreed to do so. They had a peace summit in Switzerland. Major players didn't show, including India. And so I think that really he's going to try and do to make this work is to get a gang up of nations on Ukraine's side, sort of pushing Putin to come on, let's talk at least, and let's get some of these things out of the way. But Putin is not going to be deterred at this point, in my opinion.
And when regarding that summit, when President Zelensky met the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, he came away saying that they'd agreed that they wanted Russia invited to that.
Yes, I think Russia should be invited to that. But Putin says, "Here are my conditions: get all your troops out of the 4 provinces I want to seize, get them out." And of course, that's a no go for Zelensky and the Ukrainian people at this point.
Just on a subject of a recent meeting here in London in the UK, the head of the CIA and of MI6 gave a rare joint statement. In this, the CIA director, Bill Burns, noted that the Kursk incursion raised questions across the Russian elite about where this is all headed. How long do you think Putin can keep playing down the occupation of Kursk to his supporters?
He controls the disinformation inside his own cocoon. So I'm not sure that apart from word of mouth, a lot is getting to the Russian public. However, the caskets keep arriving, and the Kursk thing has spread throughout the population, if only because people in Kursk say, can I have a bedroom? I've just been kicked out by the Ukrainians of my house. So they haven't been able to control the messaging on that. But Putin's enormously powerful. Putin doesn't go unless he's forced to. And he has to be forced to by the inner circle. And there is discontent. The oligarchs don't have the power to remove him, but the inner circle, the Siloviki, they call them, they can do that. Don't see that happening as yet, but I think that the West also has to tighten the noose even more. I think gas exports have to be completely ended whenever possible, and the oil exports to India and China are floating the boat, and that's gotta be stopped.
So, what are the developments, Diane, that you'll be looking for from both the Ukrainian and the Russian camps as winter approaches and the fighting on the battlefield inevitably slows?
I think the war is aerial. The ground war is stalemated. They go an inch ahead, they inch back. Kursk is probably going to remain in Ukrainian hands unless they can utilize it somehow as a bargaining chip to negotiate for peace. So it's kind of a standstill, but the aerial war is very important. And so the bombing of civilians and infrastructure in Ukraine is something I watch. How many bombs are they unleashing? You know, it can't go on forever. How good is their air defenses? They're getting new Patriots. They have the F-16s. Let's see how that works. And then alternatively, how well are the special forces in Ukraine doing in terms of blowing up energy facilities, storage facilities, port facilities, bringing Crimea under complete siege, destroying the Kerch Bridge, and all the things they are already doing very successfully. I published a map in my Substack about the number of major oil refinery and oil facilities hits, and it has disrupted about a quarter of their entire oil production. And so, if they can continue to do that, but it's very dangerous work. And so, I think you're going to see that the aerial war, the drones and the bombs in Russia and in Ukraine are going to be what to watch for this winter.
And against that backdrop, the people that you are able to keep in contact with in Ukraine, how are they? What are they telling you?
They're tired. They're not giving up their resolve, but they're tired. Life has just not been normal, and they don't see an end to this necessarily in a hard way. And they feel, they're absolutely dedicated because they feel, and I actually do too, that his intention is to erase Ukrainians off the map of the earth. I don't think this is about, anything other than that. He is a very odd person, and that's what he's doing, which is why he just doesn't care about breaking all the rules of war and bombs hospitals and schools. And it's hard, but they hang in there. They're amazing.
And what are you able to say in terms of support or any optimism you can give?
I cry. I cry a lot.
I'm sorry, Diane. You okay? Yeah. Well, we'll sit when sending. Go on.
No, it's very emotional.
Well, I hope the people that you keep in contact are safe, and it's good to hear that they are resilient as well. And I know that they appreciate that you speak out and you speak on Frontline for us. Really appreciate you spending time with us. Diane, if you want to read Diane's latest Substack, just she is a prolific writer. She doesn't give up. She's as resilient as the people she keeps in contact with in Ukraine. Her latest piece is on the situation in Lebanon, actually, and it's called Israel's Titanic, and you can find it on her Substack now. Diane Francis, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kate.
You've been watching Frontline for Times Radio with me, Kate Chabot. If you'd like to support us, you can subscribe now or listen to Times Radio or go to thetimes.co.uk. My thanks to our producer today, Louis Sykes, and to you for watching. Bye-bye for now.